Episode 1, American Royals by Katharine McGee. The premise of American Royals is, after the Revolutionary War, what if George Washington was the King of America? And already right there, I'm like, but we fought a war so that we wouldn't have a king, we would have fair representation among us? Why would we, go back to what we fought against? So I'm just thinking, oh, okay, just right there, I see a flaw in your logic. I am ready. I'd be so ready to rage over this. So I open the book up, ready to engage in full beast mode. Basically, the prologue is asking us as politely as it can to just, please, reader, swallow this red pill. Please accept this alternate universe where the Templars have won. George Washington is king. Farewell, the assassin order, okay? Like, George Washington, who was really president because he was begged to, was like, yes, okay, I will not do what I want to do and retire to the countryside with my wife and many slaves to live out the rest of my days in peace, and I will totally be your king. That sounds so ridiculous and out of character. But long live the Templar Order. Long live King Washington. Please, reader, just go with it. It's a very hard pill to swallow. It really is. But okay, I'll do it. Long live the king! Okay, usually when I like to tackle a book, I would go through the plot and then pick things out that pique my interest as I go along. But with American Royals, it's a story that focuses solely on the 4 point of view characters. And the plot is really, it's non-existent. It is just a backdrop to place these 4 girls in and for them to interact with sometimes each other, but mostly with their boy toys. So I'm going to start this off by dissecting the 4 girls. So I like to think of it as like this 4-way scale, okay, that you put each character in. And in theory, it's supposed to balance each other out. Like on the first one, you have Beatrice. She is the point of view character for the first and last chapter, so she is the main character. And Beatrice is the heir apparent, the older sibling of Samantha and Jefferson, who are twins. And her big conflict is putting the duality of her royal self and her own personal identity. And the way this conflict is depicted is having Beatrice needing to marry Samantha's love interest or, loving for herself. Then over here you have Samantha. She's Beatrice's younger sister as well as Jefferson's twin. She's also known as the spare royal. In case Beatrice gets run over by like a pack of wolves or badgers or something, then Samantha would step up to the plate and be the new queen. And her conflict is she doesn't know what she wants to be when she grows up, essentially. She's like, oh, well, I'm not the heir. No one gives a shit about the spare, so what is there for me? Which is, yeah, okay, that's cool. It's basically any kind of conflict that the youngins go through when they're about to hit their mid-20s. So yeah, okay, that's solid enough, gotcha. On the other side, we have Nina. She is Samantha's best friend and also a quote-unquote commoner. The book makes a big deal that Nina is grounded, she's from the streets or something, but she still comes from money. One of her moms used to work under the crown as like a minister, and then the other mom is a hip CEO founder of this hella successful tech company. Nina comes from money. Like, girl, you kind of a poor poser. Okay, you're as much as a commoner as Gigi Hadid or Carly Kloss or any Kardashian. And Nina's conflict is, do I want to be Jefferson's girlfriend? I don't want to be in the public eye. Oh, it's too much to be Jefferson's girl. And then finally we have Daphne, who is Jefferson's ex-girlfriend. And she comes from a family of new money, lower nobility. So she is one step up from Nina in terms of social hierarchy. She is an ambitious social climber. Like, she is a mix of Cersei Lannister and Marjorie Tyrell, if she was not as smart as those characters, and 10 times more of a tryhard. But that honestly makes her at least the most entertaining character to read because she's the only one with a clear want a very vibrant personality. She's a hella go-getter. If she didn't come off as such a two-dimensional try-hard in her ambition, she would be the best character. But of these four girls, they each juxtapose and parallel one another. You have Beatrice was raised to take the throne. It comes easy for her to just, be the best that no one ever was. She wears the mask of a royal so perfectly. She parallels to Daphne, who is not royalty, who viciously claws her way up, and she studies so hard to be worthy of marrying Jefferson to be a royal. Like, Daphne really wants it, but Beatrice, who has it, is very unsure if she wants to keep it. And then on the other side, you have Nina and Samantha, who is basically the Chucky Finster to Samantha's Tommy Pickles. Samantha, the wild child, does what she wants. Oh, I have privilege and I don't care, but you have the privilege so you can afford not to care. That is the conflict between Nina and Samantha. I just spoiled that right there. In theory, they are balanced and everything is as it should be. When you read the whole thing and you inspect each one and how they relate to one another, or how they don't, it's like crazy uneven. Again, Beatrice, the first and last perspective read, the de facto main character, is the disconnecting thread between the four. Like, Beatrice is not tied to the other three quite as evenly. Whereas Samantha is the one who knows all of them. Of course, she knows her sister, she knows her best friend, and she's met her twin brother's ex-girlfriend when they were dating. And this disconnect is kind of a yikes for a leading lady, because it kind of makes me wonder, why have Nina and Daphne's point of view in the first place? If you're gonna want to focus more on Beatrice, then why not just have the point of views be between the two sisters, and just have a stronger bond between them? Or if anything, why not have Samantha be the driving force instead of Beatrice, since she knows all three of the other characters? I am aware that this is only book one in, I have no idea how long the series will be, so, eventually Beatrice will probably become more acquainted with Daphne or Nina. It should be both. But for a novel whose very foundation is based on the perfect symmetry, for a perfect juxtaposition between these four main characters, the narrative does not depict the balance that it's trying to establish. Next up, you have the girls' love interests. These endgame pairs have been laid out very blatantly early on. Like, by chapter 6, I already knew who was going to end up with who and whatnot, so I see that where McGee is trying to go with, establish the foundation early and then just spend the whole rest of the time laying the bricks down. And I appreciate that. Katharine McGee has her focus. She wants to develop 4 love ships. Okay, I see that. Let's go. First up, we have Connor, who is Beatrice's bodyguard from the Royal Guard. And Connor just head over heels over Beatrice. It's like tropey hard, and he just wants to be with Beatrice, and he's the type to be like, oh, I have a duty to protect you, and I know in theory you're supposed to be married with another a royal guy, but doesn't mean I can't just stand here and just pout about it. And yeah, trite conflict there, but I like Connor. He's my favorite of the 4 dudes. He has the most chemistry with Beatrice, and if anything, Connor carries her around. Like, he makes her look better. Like, he is the one that brings out any personality from Beatrice. So they gel. I like them, and I do root for them. And next we have Teddy, who is Beatrice's betrothed. He's from a dookie from Baltimore, I think. And he is Samantha's love interest. Teddy has a kinship with Beatrice because he also has the whole duty versus self kind of conflict. The duty of his dukedom, where his family lost everything, so marrying into the royal family would bring prosperity back to his name. Whereas, he has a thing for Samantha, so he's like, oh, I like you, Samantha, but my family made some really shitty bets during recession, and they're losing all their money, so I gotta marry the queen to be. Sorry, bruh. Teddy's an alright character. I like him enough. He's okay, because he bounces off of Beatrice and Samantha well. He doesn't purely exist to be an accessory to a girl, unlike Daphne's love interest that I'll get to in a second. So we see Teddy, and I think we see Teddy the most out of the 4 guys. Next we have Jefferson, Samantha's twin brother and Beatrice's younger brother. He is enjoying life as it is, does not like change. He at first dated Daphne because it was like the right thing to do, the correct thing to do. She was paparazzi friendly, which is good for the royal family. I like the potential growth that Jefferson can have later on. Right now, he is a total schmuck. Anyway, last boy is Ethan. He is Jefferson's commoner best friend, and he's actually the commoner too. Like, I think one of his parents is like a dentist or something. He is the most grounded, but he is also one of the worst too. He has eyes for Daphne, but Daphne only has eyes for the crown prince, so therefore that love is one-sided. But Ethan can't stop just appearing in places where Daphne happens to be. And this is also a problem with the boys in general. Like, I'll be reading any chapter, frankly, any chapter, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, so here's a Samantha chapter. She's doing something and about to maybe go see someone, and then I'm like, okay, and Teddy swoops in now, and then sure enough, there's Teddy, and these two spend the rest of the chapter just talking about something. Or again, Ethan with Daphne, I'll just be like with Daphne, oh man, she's having fun, she's letting loose, and I'm like, yeah, Daphne, get some. I was actually hoping she would bond with Samantha of all people because they had a kind of a tumultuous relationship, and I'd be like, oh, drinking buddies, that's a great way to make friends. That's how I made quite a few friends in college. So I was expecting her to be like, all right, she and Samantha are like doing body shots or some shit. Yeah. But no, Ethan just swoops in out of nowhere, be like, don't you think you're just going a little too hard here, Daphne? I think you need to dial it back. Hell, you know what? I need to put you in a cab home. I'm just like, what the f***, Ethan? Go away, you buzzkill. You are getting in the way of my friendship bonding scenes here. But he also has continuous passionate kisses with Daphne because Ethan is just the only one who sees the true Daphne, and therefore Daphne's like, you've seen me for the schemer that I am, therefore, let's just get crunk and sleep together a couple times. And I'm like, no, this isn't right. The Daphne-Ethan pair bothers me because I can see it in neon lights. The point of Ethan being like, oh, Daphne, you don't always get what you want, Daphne. You don't always get to be with the crown prince and that royal lifestyle. But don't worry, here's Ethan. Here's the one that you need. And that's f***ing bullshit. Why the hell does Daphne need to settle with some schmuck who just happens to just swoop in every time, Daphne happens to need someone there for her? So in conclusion, for the character section, Nina and Ethan can fuck off. I hope Daphne and Samantha grow into their potential eventually down the line in future books. Okay. Moving on, finally.
This.
It is a very simple book. No risks are taken in the plot. And concerning the writing style in general, the narrator loves telling us things. And sometimes it works. Like in the beginning when we're getting introduced to the characters, we'll be told something and then we'll be shown it. Like with Beatrice and how she kind of met Connor, or at least became more acquainted with him. The narrator tells us, oh yeah, like the defining moment was when they were at a museum and he was, there to kind of help and guide her. And then melds right to that scene and then we're shown how that event unfolds itself. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's good. And it happens again when we're with Nina and how we know about her relationship with Samantha, how that happened. It'll tell us, oh yeah, Nina was just sitting here minding her own business while her mom was applying for a job with the king. And we just delve right into like little Nina and then Samantha barging and being like, hey, what are you reading? Cool, I'm playing hide and seek. You're my friend now. Woo! Yeah, no, that's good. You tell, and then you go into the showing. But then there are also instances where the narrator tells us, like, because of event A that we have read about like a chapter ago, then this B result has happened. That's something that would happen in Handbook for Mortals. The whole, because Sherry made up with Mac last chapter, Mac is now suddenly nicer to Sherry. No, just... I think you're just having the narrator blab to pad your word count a bit. I'm not really fond of an overly talkative narrator. I would hope that, in future installments, the narrator kind of pulls back on their opinions of what's going on and just leave it to the actions of the characters. I think that speaks way louder than a narrator being like, trying to reaffirm the shit I just saw. I can put two and two together. I am not that dumb. I'm only a little dumb, but not entirely. Or like another point I like to talk about is the world's building. I feel like it's mocking me. just I like that it's sprinkled in here and there. I'm like, okay, so you're not forgetting that the world is different with this, this butterfly effect that happened 200 plus years ago. But I don't think McGee really accounted for how much of an effect that one decision George Washington made to be king would steamroll some hundreds of years later. Okay, yeah. Everything is supposed to be the same except now king, but what about shit that happened in the histories, Like, how did the Civil War play out? Like, was the South trying to fight for democracy too, along with slaves? Like, they want to own people, but they also want to make their own decisions to own people? And that means Abraham Lincoln doesn't exist, so you would have to have an Abraham Lincoln-esque king to be like, no, guys, monarchy is good. I know you want to rule over black people, but no, you want me to rule over you instead. What? And even though the book kind of touches on the whole slavery thing being like, yeah, slavery was bad and we're ashamed of it, but at least we had a king to be like, okay, no more slavery. All right. What about world wars or revolutions? Let's talk about that, because not long after the Revolutionary War, you had the French Revolution, and monarchy exists everywhere. Like, to quote from the prologue, the very beginning, historians love to debate whether in another world things might have gone differently. What if George Washington had refused to be king and asked to be an elected representative instead, a prime minister, or perhaps he would have made up an entirely new name for that office, like president. Maybe inspired by America's example, other nations, France and Russia and Prussia, Austria-Hungary, and China and Greece, would eventually abolish their own monarchies, giving rise to their new democratic age. But we all know that never happened. So, in this alternate universe, monarchies exist in other countries besides America. How did the French Revolution go? Were people just A-okay with starving to death and how incompetent Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette are? Did they still behead them? Did the raid of Bastille still happen? What about Maximilian Robespierre? Did he still give rise to the Reign of Terror? Or what about the Russian Revolution? Did, the Russian people just A-okay with starving and their incompetent Tsar and just decided not to massacre his entire family? Or what about, the prelude to World War I, where the Black Hand just happened to be even more incompetent than they really were in this universe and failing way harder to game end Archduke Franz Ferdinand? What about civil rights? What about, women's suffrage? There's an instance where Samantha goes to make herself a cup of tea and her brother approaches her and be like, make sure grandma doesn't see that, because in this America, tea is seen as unpatriotic. In this America, they still kind of regard England as fuck you. Like, they still have the rebellious spirit to say that much, but they don't overthrow their own monarchy. There are no other revolutions. People are just okay. Even cultural icons, the teddy bear, it was named after Teddy Roosevelt because he was a big conservationist. And plus the guy was a badass, man. Of course I would compare him to a bear. But instead, teddy bears are named after Prince Teddy from years ago. So therefore, the Roosevelts weren't a thing either. Oh yeah, another fun factoid, the Louisiana Purchase that we know of, in this universe instead, is referred to as the Louisiana Gamble, where France lost the Louisiana territories over a card game. Oh, I guess you beat my 2 pairs with your 3 of a kind. You can have the Louisiana territories now, King George something. Awesome. This shit is bonkers. I think the most insulting thing, though, is being dangled the whole what if democracy, like how I quoted from the prologue. That's not the only time that the book tries to dangle that carrot in front of my face. In a Daphne chapter, Daphne postulates, maybe things would improve when Beatrice someday took the throne, when after 250 years, America would finally be ruled by a woman. Or maybe it would have been better if America had never been a monarchy at all and had some other form of government. Daphne doubted it. Just, why are you just dangling this carrot in my face? Even Beatrice entertains the same thought. When she's talking to Teddy, and Teddy reassures her, "You're going to be an amazing first queen. If this was a world where people could, I don't know, vote for their monarch, I know that America would still pick you. I would pick you." And then Beatrice / the narrator goes on to tell us, "Elect the king or queen. What a funny concept. Everyone knew that elections only worked for judges and Congress. So yeah, the judicial and the legislative branches still exist, but the executive branch is just the monarchy. That's a thing. Anyway, making the executive branch pander to the people, go out begging for votes, that could only end a disaster. That structure would attract the wrong sort of people, power-hungry people with twisted agenda." Yeah, book, I get it. Our democracy is broken right now. Doesn't mean you get to rub it in my face, asshole. I bet now that by the end of the series, Beatrice will abolish the monarchy and bring way to democracy. And maybe that'll influence the other countries in the world to just riot, burn everything down, eat their monarchy, or, build a shitload of guillotines. Man, I would be there for that bloodbath. I am so anti-monarchy. So in conclusion, for a book that was supposed to be fun brain candy for me to, kind of take the weight of dead life animal companion, yeah, I did way too much thinking. This book was trying to be smart and make me think, and even though it did, I didn't appreciate this. This was a dull-ass ride in absolutely nothing. It played it too safe. The characters were very in their box. I just hope in future volumes, Katharine McGee has more fun with it. I'm just not afraid to just kind of kick the walls out and expand narrative-wise, character-wise. Just more Samantha, more Daphne. Make them become best friends. And Beatrice can run off with Connor and they can live happily ever after. Yay. I'd rate this book 23 dead kings out of 5,000 teddy bears. Disappointed. Ugh. Why, hello there. So nice of you to drop by. If you'll please become utterly entranced by this crudely drawn hip swiveling, I'd like to deliver my ending spiel. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you see, and how can you not, look at these hips go. Please consider supporting me on my Patreon, where you can get 1 day early access to all upcoming videos, as well as the entire uncut audio of book reviews. You can hear me yap for almost double the amount of time. You can also vote for the next novel for me to suffer through, or enjoy. I'm at y'all's mercy after all. I can even draw sketches for you at child labor prices. Oh, I jest. Kinda. If you're unable to support me on a subscription basis via Patreon, and I totally understand, I also have a Ko-fi page tip jar for your instant generosity needs. You do you, boo. No judgment. Finally, a like and subscribe still goes a long way. I'm eternally grateful for any and all support. You may now peel your eyes away from this sexy, sexy penguin body. Remember to stay hydrated, friends, and take care.